The night smelled like blood and rain. I ran barefoot through the muddy road, my breath tearing out of my chest. Each step burned like fire, but I didn't dare stop. Behind me, the wind carried faint echoes, his voice, low and furious, calling my name. Leo. Even hearing it made my stomach twist. I pressed a trembling hand to my side, feeling the bruise still warm where he had shoved me earlier. My scent suppressant patch was half torn, the chemical smell fading fast. My body was betraying me, heat rising under my skin, tears mixing with the rain. I just had to make it past the main road, just far enough where he couldn't find me. But the world blurred. I hadn't eaten in 2 days, and the suppressant was messing with my head. Every heartbeat echoed too loud. My legs shook, and when I stumbled, I hit the ground hard. For a moment, I wanted to stay there. Maybe if I closed my eyes, everything would stop, the pain, the fear, the memories of his hands and his anger. But then I heard it, the low growl of an engine approaching. I tried to crawl away, terrified it was him, but the lights stopped a few feet from my body. The door slammed. Footsteps. A tall figure approached through the rain, holding an umbrella. I couldn't see his face clearly, only his outline, broad shoulders, steady stride, and the faint, cold scent of an alpha. My entire body tensed. "Don't touch me," my voice cracked. "Please." He didn't answer right away. He crouched beside me, eyes sharp even in the storm. "You're bleeding," he said quietly. His voice was deep, calm, unreadable. "Can you stand?" I shook my head weakly. Without another word, he slid his arm under my back and lifted me, as if I weighed nothing. The world tilted. I smelled him, sharp like rain on metal, steady and clean. Nothing like the bitter scent of the man I'd escaped. Before I knew it, the darkness took me. When I woke up, everything was still. Warm light flickered from a fireplace across the room. The air smelled faintly of cedar and soap. My wounds were bandaged. The clothes I wore weren't mine, an oversized grey shirt that hung past my knees. And sitting by the window, reading something in silence, was the alpha from last night. He looked different in daylight, tall, dressed in black, silver-grey eyes focused and emotionless. His hair fell slightly over his forehead, neat but not perfect. Everything about him screamed control. When he noticed me awake, he closed the book slowly. "You're up," he said. I swallowed, throat dry. Where am I?" "My house." I sat up quickly, panic flooding back. "Why? Why did you bring me here? What do you want?" He stood, expression unreadable. "You were unconscious in the middle of the road. If I'd left you there, you'd be dead by now." My pulse raced. I didn't know whether to thank him or run. "I'll leave soon," I whispered. "I just need to." He cut me off with a calm but firm voice. "You can't even stand." He was right. When I tried, my knees buckled instantly, and I grabbed the bed frame for balance. He sighed quietly and walked to the kitchen. When he returned, he set a tray down, a bowl of soup, bread, and water. "Eat," he said simply. I stared at it, my stomach growling in betrayal. "Why are you helping me?" He didn't look at me as he answered. "I don't like watching people die in front of my house." His tone was cold, but his actions weren't. I ate slowly, hands shaking. He stayed silent the whole time, standing near the doorway like he didn't trust me either. When I finished, he finally spoke again. "If you're hiding from someone," he said, "don't tell me. I don't want to be involved." Something in my chest twisted. "You already are," I murmured. His eyes flicked to me then, sharp, unreadable, and for just a second, something softer beneath. But he said nothing more and left the room. Later that night, I stood by the window, staring out at the dark forest. My body still ached, but the pain inside was worse. I'd escaped, but where would I go now? My ex would look for me, he always did. And if he found me again? My chest tightened. I pressed my palm against the glass, whispering to myself, "Just survive this night, Leo. One night at a time." That's when I heard the low click of the door behind me. I turned slightly. The alpha, I still didn't know his name, stood in the doorway. "If you're planning to die," he said flatly, "don't do it near my house." My throat tightened. I wasn't. He interrupted, eyes narrowing just a little. "You have that look." Silence stretched between us. He sighed and stepped closer, his voice quieter now. "The guest room is yours for a few days. There's a shower. Use it. Sleep. Eat." "I don't have money to pay you," I whispered. "I don't need your money." His gaze lingered on my bruised wrists. "Just don't bring your trouble to my door." He turned to leave, but I couldn't stop myself. "Wait. What's your name?" He paused by the door, glancing back. "Kael." Then he left, closing the door softly behind him. I stood there for a long time, staring at the empty space where he'd been. Kael. The name felt sharp and cold on my tongue, like ice that burns before it melts. That night, I curled under the blanket, listening to the rain outside. For the first time in years, no one yelled at me. No one touched me without permission. The silence felt strange, but safe. Still, deep down, I knew nothing good lasts forever. Because alphas never help without wanting something in return. And I had nothing left to give. For the next 2 days, I barely left the guest room. Kael kept his distance. I could hear him moving quietly around the house. The sound of water running, the faint clink of dishes, footsteps on polished floors. He never asked about my past, never questioned why I flinched at sudden noises or why I avoided eye contact. He just let me exist. It should have been comforting. But his silence pressed against my chest like a weight I couldn't name. The first morning, I tried to make myself useful. I limped into the kitchen, hoping to clean up or at least thank him for the food. But when I entered, Kael was already there, sleeves rolled up, stirring something in a pot. He glanced at me once, eyes cool as always. You should be resting. I can help, I said softly. He raised an eyebrow. You can barely stand. I bit my lip, embarrassed. I just don't want to be a burden. He set down the spoon and turned toward me. You already are, he said flatly. The words cut, even though his tone wasn't cruel, just honest. But then he handed me a cup of tea and added, Drink. It'll help with the bruising. I blinked in surprise. For someone who claimed not to care, he was confusing. Later that evening, I found myself sitting near the fireplace, wrapped in one of his oversized sweaters. It smelled faintly of cedar and something clean, like rain and smoke. Kael sat across the room reading. The quiet between us felt thick, but not uncomfortable. I watched him over the rim of my cup. He was handsome in a cold, unapproachable way, sharp features, strong hands, and a gaze that never softened. He looked like a man carved from stone, someone who'd forgotten how to feel. Why do you live alone? I asked before I could stop myself. His eyes lifted from the page. Because peace is easier that way. Don't you get lonely? He closed the book. Lonely people are those who still hope someone will come back. I didn't know what to say after that. The fire crackled softly between us. I wondered who he had lost, or if he'd simply chosen solitude over pain. Maybe we weren't so different. That night, I woke up sweating. My body felt strange, hot, trembling, wrong. My scent suppressants had worn off, and the withdrawal hit me like lightning. No, not now. I stumbled into the bathroom, turning on the cold water and pressing my wrists to the sink. My scent was leaking, faint but undeniable, sweet and sharp like crushed petals. My chest tightened in panic. If Kael smelled it. Leo. His voice came from behind the door. Calm, deep. I froze. Are you all right? He asked. I'm fine, I lied. Please just stay away. There was a long pause. Then something slid under the door, a small foil packet. Suppressant patches. You forgot to replace yours, Kael said quietly. Put that on before it gets worse. My hands shook as I pressed the patch against my neck. Tears blurred my vision. He shouldn't have cared. He said he didn't want to be involved. Yet here he was, standing outside my door in the middle of the night, keeping me safe from my own body. I sank to the floor, voice breaking. Why are you being kind to me? For a long moment, silence. Then his voice, low, tired. I'm not kind. I just don't want to see someone destroyed for no reason. The next morning, I found an extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of my bed. No note. No words. Just quiet care. Something in me started to thaw. A fragile warmth I hadn't felt in years. When Kael passed by the hallway, I whispered, Thank you. He didn't look back. Eat your breakfast before it gets cold. But the corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. A few days later, I saw the first crack in his armor. I was helping him carry boxes from the storage room when I accidentally dropped one. The sound startled me so badly I flinched and covered my head without thinking. Old habits. The silence that followed was heavy. When I dared to look up, Kael was staring at me, eyes wide, fists clenched. He looked angry, but not at me. Who did that to you? His voice was rough. I swallowed hard. It doesn't matter. I'm not there anymore. His jaw tightened. If he finds you again. He won't. But even as I said it, fear crept up my spine. Kael must have seen it, because his tone shifted. Lower, softer. You're safe here, he said. No one touches you unless you allow it. Not even me. Something inside me cracked open. For years, I'd only known alphas who took, who decided everything for me. Hearing those words felt like breathing after drowning. I nodded slowly, whispering, "Thank you." "Kael." He looked away quickly, muttering, "Don't thank me yet." That night, as the storm raged outside, I stood by the window again. My reflection looked almost human, not the broken thing I'd become. Kael's voice echoed from somewhere down the hall, giving quiet orders to someone on the phone, his tone clipped and commanding. Whoever he was outside this house, a businessman, a fighter, I didn't know. But he carried himself like someone who'd seen too much and learned to survive by being cold. And yet, he'd saved me. I wondered what kind of pain made him this way. What kind of heart hides behind walls that thick? When he walked past my door that night, I whispered softly, "Good night." He paused, just a moment, and answered, "Good night, Leo." My heart stuttered at the sound. That was the night I realized something terrifying. The man I should have feared was the only one who made me feel safe. And the alpha with no heart was slowly becoming the reason mine started to beat again. Peace never lasts. It had been almost 2 weeks since Kael found me. I had started to sleep without fear. I even smiled sometimes, small, quiet smiles when I caught him reading on the couch or feeding the stray cat that wandered near the porch. He was still cold, still distant, but the silence between us wasn't empty anymore. Then one morning, everything shattered. I was hanging wet laundry outside when I smelled it. That scent. Bitter. Metallic. Familiar. My breath froze. I turned, and there he was, Rhett, the alpha I had run from. Standing at the edge of the yard, rain dripping from his hair, eyes dark with fury. "Found you," he hissed. My knees nearly buckled. "No, stay away." He started toward me, but before he could reach me, a door slammed open. Kael stepped out of the house, expression unreadable, his hand sliding calmly into his coat pocket. "Leave," Kael said, his tone quiet, too quiet. Rhett's lips twisted into a sneer. "And who are you?" "His new owner." I flinched. Kael's eyes flicked toward me, then back to Rhett. "I don't own people. But if you touch him again, I'll break both your hands." Rhett laughed, a sharp sound. "He's mine. He ran away during his bond. You have no right to keep what's marked." Kael moved before the words finished. 1 second Rhett was standing. The next, Kael had him pinned against the fence, one hand gripping his throat. The calm in his voice vanished, replaced by steel. "You think hurting someone makes them yours?" Rhett choked, eyes wide. Kael's control was terrifying. Every muscle coiled, restrained. I'd seen violence before, but this was different. Kael didn't hit out of rage, he hit to end it. "Kael, stop," I whispered, clutching his sleeve. "He's not worth it." Kael's jaw flexed. For a moment, I thought he wouldn't listen. Then slowly, he released Rhett and stepped back. "Leave," he repeated, voice low. "If I see you here again, I'll make sure you disappear for good." Rhett stumbled away, glaring at both of us. "You'll regret this, Omega." He spat at me before disappearing into the woods. My body trembled. My old instincts screamed that I had just made things worse. Kael turned to me. His voice softened barely. "Leo, are you hurt?" I shook my head, but my throat felt tight. "He's going to come back. He always does." "Then I'll be here when he does," Kael said simply. That was it. No promises, no speeches, just quiet certainty. The kind that felt safer than any lock or wall. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Rhett's face. My heartbeat wouldn't slow down, my body too alert, too afraid. I left my room and found Kael in the living room, sitting by the fire again. He looked up as I entered. "Can't sleep?" he asked. I shook my head. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I sat down across from him. The warmth of the fire made my skin ache. Too aware, too alive. "Why did you protect me?" I asked quietly. "You could have just sent me away." Kael looked into the fire. "Because I hate people who take what isn't freely given." Something in his voice cracked then. Just a hint, a fracture in the cold. "Someone took something from you, too, didn't they?" I asked. He didn't answer, but the silence said enough. I wanted to reach out, to touch him, to tell him I understood. Instead, I whispered, "Thank you." He met my gaze. His silver eyes were sharp and burning. Not cold anymore, just restrained. That was when I realized something dangerous. The air smelled faintly sweet. Too sweet. My suppressants, they'd worn off again. My heart stopped. Kael froze, eyes darkening as he caught the scent too. "Leo," he said warningly, voice lower now. I'm sorry," I stammered, backing away. "I didn't mean to." He stood abruptly, running a hand through his hair, as if trying to steady himself. "It's fine. Just stay over there." but the room felt smaller with every breath. My body was betraying me, heat crawling under my skin, heartbeat pounding so loud I could barely hear his words. "I'll go to my room," I whispered, trying to stand, but my legs buckled, and I stumbled. Kael caught me instantly. And then I felt it, his scent flooding around me, wrapping me in warmth and danger. Strong, grounding, addictive. "Kael," I breathed. He swallowed hard, his voice rough. "You need to put the patch on." I tried to reach for the drawer, but my hand trembled. I can't move." He cursed under his breath, then grabbed the suppressant patch from the table. His hands brushed my neck as he placed it on my skin, but his touch lingered, steady, gentle, trembling at the edges. "Don't look at me like that," he muttered. "Like what?" I whispered. "Like you want me to lose control." My breath hitched. The heat between us thickened, electric and dangerous. "I'm sorry," I said again, voice barely there. He exhaled, shaking his head. "You don't need to apologize for being what you are." Something broke in me then, the guilt, the shame, the fear. All the years of being treated like property melted under his voice. Before I could stop myself, I whispered, "Then what am I to you, Kael?" His hand froze on my neck. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, he said it, low and rough. "Mine." The word slipped out before he could take it back. His eyes widened slightly, as if realizing what he'd said. He pulled away immediately, standing abruptly. "You should rest." "Kael." "Don't," he said sharply, though his voice shook. "Not like this. Not while you're in heat." He left the room before I could speak again. The sound of his footsteps faded down the hall, leaving me breathless and trembling. That night, I lay awake, the suppressant slowly calming my body, but not my heart. He'd said mine. I touched the side of my neck where his fingers had been. His scent still clung to me, faint and intoxicating. I knew it was wrong to feel this way. I'd just escaped one alpha's cage. I shouldn't be yearning for another. But this was different. Kael didn't chain me. He saved me. He gave me space. He looked at me like I was something more than a body meant to obey. And maybe that's what terrified me most. Because if he ever decided to walk away, I wasn't sure I'd know how to live again. Spring crept in quietly that year. The rain softened, the forest turned green again, and for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of waking up. It had been 3 months since Rhett disappeared. Kael never spoke about that night, but I knew he'd made sure my former mate would never come near me again. After that, the world seemed to slow down. Our days settled into a rhythm. Quiet, simple, safe. He brewed strong black coffee every morning. I preferred tea. Sometimes we'd eat together, sometimes in silence. But the silence wasn't cold anymore. It was soft, like a blanket wrapped around the both of us. Then one morning, everything changed again. I was in the kitchen, washing dishes, when the smell hit me, sharp nausea, out of nowhere. My hands shook. The plates slipped and shattered in the sink. Kael came running instantly. "Leo, what's wrong?" "I'm fine," I tried to say, but my voice wavered. He frowned, pressing the back of his hand to my forehead. "You're pale." He insisted on driving me to the clinic in the nearby town. I hated hospitals, the smell, the memories, but Kael stayed beside me the whole time, quiet but solid. When the doctor finally came back with the test results, my world spun. "Congratulations," she said gently. "You're pregnant." For a moment, I couldn't speak. I just stared at the paper in my hands, the word positive blurring through tears. Kael's hand tightened on my shoulder. "That's impossible," he murmured, more to himself than anyone. The doctor smiled faintly. "Not impossible, just unexpected." The drive home was silent. I stared out the window, numb. My mind raced with fear. Fear of being weak again, of being trapped, of becoming something I couldn't protect. When we reached the house, Kael parked the car and stayed still for a long moment, gripping the steering wheel. Finally, he spoke. "You don't have to keep it if you don't want to," he said quietly. His voice was steady, but I could hear the edge of something. Pain, maybe. I shook my head. "It's not about wanting to. I don't know how to be a parent. I don't even know how to live like a normal person." He turned toward me then. His eyes, usually so cold, were full of warmth I'd never seen before. "You already learned how to survive," he said. "That's harder than living. The rest you'll figure out." Something inside me broke open. I hadn't realized how much I needed to hear that I wasn't broken beyond repair. Weeks passed. I grew slower, softer. Kael built a small garden behind the house and started working from home more often. He didn't say it, but I knew it was because he didn't want to leave me alone. Sometimes, I'd wake up to find breakfast waiting by the bed. Other times, he'd pretend to be busy in the kitchen, just so I wouldn't see the quiet worry in his eyes. One night, I found him standing by the window, staring out into the rain. "Kael," I called softly. He turned, startled. "You should be resting." "I can't sleep." I walked up beside him, hand resting over the small swell of my stomach. "Are you scared?" I asked. He looked at me for a long moment before answering. "Every day." That made me smile, small and real. "Me too." He exhaled, shoulders relaxing a little. Then, for the first time, he reached out, slow, cautious, and placed his hand over mine. His palm was warm, steady. "This life," he said, voice rough. "It's not what I planned, but it's the first thing that feels real." I felt tears sting my eyes. "Kael." He looked down at me, not cold, not distant, just human. "You don't owe me anything, Leo. Not love, not a bond, not even forgiveness. But if you let me, I'll stay." I swallowed hard, whispering, "Then stay." And he did. Months later, I gave birth on a quiet afternoon, sunlight spilling through the curtains. The pain was sharp, but Kael never left my side. When the baby's cry finally broke through the silence, everything stopped. He was so small, so perfect. Kael held him first, his large hands trembling. For once, he looked completely undone. Eyes wet, lips parted as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "He looks like you," I whispered. Kael laughed softly, a sound I'd never heard before. "Poor kid." We both laughed then, tears mixing with joy. Now, a year later, our house smells like sunlight and milk and warm bread. Kael still pretends to be grumpy every morning, but he's the first to scoop our son up when he starts to cry. Sometimes I catch him whispering things to the baby, little stories, little promises. And sometimes, late at night, I wake up to find Kael watching me with that same quiet look, the one that says more than words ever could. "You're staring again," I tease. He smirks. "Just making sure you're still real." I smile and rest my head against his shoulder. "I am. Because of you." He kisses the top of my hair, whispering, "No, because you chose to stay." Outside, the same road where I once collapsed now leads to a home filled with laughter. The man who once saved me from the rain now holds me like I'm something worth keeping. And every night, when Kael wraps his arms around me and our son between us, I realize something simple but true. I ran to escape pain, but I found love instead.